Right, at this stage I really wanted to start adding a skylight into my scene so that I could continue working a little bit further into the reflections of my concrete here. You can see that the window outside is black at the moment. So I've created a folder called HDRI, and I have imported a few HDRI skies from HDRIskies.com, and these are free. And then I've also imported a Peter Guthrie sky because the reason is, you see that if you open a HDRI sky, you can still access the brightness here, and when you open a Peter Guthrie sky, so I've already played around with this one, but it comes in at 1, and you will see when it updates that it's completely clamped out. So I'm not sure whether that's dealt with in the Skylight, but I've taken the habit of, when that happens for whatever reason, I'll just go into the brightness and sort of through trial and error choose a value that will give me more or less the value that I can see in the window. So I thought this might be useful for you to know. And so let's create a skylight. And so just to go back, the reason why I didn't use a skylight up until now was to really give you the opportunity to see how we can do a very simple setup, and very quickly back and forth without even worrying about much at all. And that is using the environment color, which for any of you 3ds Max users from even back in the day, just setting the environment color to white or light blue was very common practice. So we can still do that. So now with using the skylight though, we can of course start using the HDR. So whether we keep the environment color white or not, that's up to you. Do know that the effect is going to compound on top of each other. The environment color is still going to have an effect on the scene, even though I have now a skylight in 3ds Max using V-Ray or even Scanline, I suppose. The environment background color is overridden by the skylight. Here they work on top of each other. So so that's up to you whether you turn it on or off. I'm going to keep it on for now to see what the effect is. And so back onto the skylight now, very simply. Instead of SLS capture scene, I specify a cube map. I'm going to choose my sort of maybe I'll just choose the Peter Guthrie sky there and see what that gives us. So immediately we've got the skylight is actually having an effect on the scene. So let's just build immediately and see what that gives us. So we are still, I'll build on medium, and I'll bring this back down to 1, and well, let's keep the white for now, see what happens. So great, that rendered pretty quickly, and that's exactly the effect that I was after. So we've got very bright kind of light coming from the openings now, and we've got a brighter reflection. So we can play with these things, maybe even sort of play with the intensity after we've run the lighting solution. That's about it. What the thing that I would move on to straight away after that is to start balancing the white balance in the post-process volume. So let's go on to the next video, and we'll do that. In the meantime though, you can also play around with the different HDRIs that you've got, just like that. It's pretty incredible to be able to change it so quickly. And actually, before we move on to the next videos, I couldn't resist and run another test with the environment color set to black. So that's really interesting, because our Skylight is on 1 currently, and the post-process volume exposure is just left to default, and my exposure is on game settings, which means that we have the automatic exposure adaptation. So the problem that we have here already is that we've got a very bright reflection here, and so we might want to take away this problem, because we get some very bright spots here, even though our intensity is set on 1. So if I can see that here my skylight is a bit too dark, so if I was to increase the intensity, maybe say to 3, the illumination coming from the skylight is a little bit better, but then my reflection's even stronger, right? So I find it quite useful to keep the environment color on 1 and help give this kind of overcast boost, overcast light boost to the skylight, and this way I can turn my skylight down a little bit. Right, so I will build it back to the setting we had before, and then we'll move on to the post-process volume.